Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Welcome back, everyone. Or if you joined us for the first time, thank you very much. We're reading from the live studios. We're live at the studios at Govardhana Hill at Dangati, just down the street from the Lakshmi-Narayan Mandir, and broadcasting all over the world. Thanks to our broadcasting crew, in-house crew. And we're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're at the Madhya Leela, chapter 20. The Lord instructs Sanatana Goswami. And I'm taking up where we left off yesterday at text 189. The first expansion of the Chaturvyuha, quadruple forms, is unique. There is nothing to compare with them. These quadruple forms are the source of unlimited quadruple forms. These four Prabhava pastime forms of Lord Krishna reside eternally in Dwarka and Mathura. From the original quadruple expansions, 24 forms are manifested. They differ according to the placement of the weapons in their hands. They are called Vaibhava Vilas. Lord Krishna again expands, and within the Paravyom, the spiritual sky, he is situated in fullness as the four-handed Narayan, accompanied by expansions of the original quadruple forms. At the top of the Paravyoma, the spiritual sky, there is Goloka Vrindavan, which is divided into three parts. Two of the parts, called Mathura and Dwarka, are the residences of Krishna in his Prabhava Vilas forms. Balaram, Krishna's Vaibhava Prakash, is eternally situated in Gokula. From the quadruple Prabhava Vilas, 24 forms of the Vaibhava Vilas are expanded. Each has four hands holding weapons in different positions. The topmost planet in the spiritual sky is Goloka Vrindavan, and below that planet is the spiritual sky itself. In that spiritual sky, Krishna himself is four-handed and is situated as Narayan. Thus, the original quadruple forms again manifest themselves in a second set of quadruple expansions. The resonance of these second quadruple expansions cover the four directions. Again, these quadruple forms expand three times, beginning with Keshava. That is the fulfillment of the pastime forms. Out of the Chaturvyuha, there are three expansions of each and every form, and they are named differently according to the position of the weapons. The Vasudeva expansions are Keshava, Narayan, and Madhava. The expansions of Sankarshan are Govinda, Viṣṇu, and Madhusudan. This Govinda is different from the original Govinda, for he is not the son of Maharaj Nanda. The expansions of Pradyumna are Trivikrama, Vaman, and Sridhar. The expansions of Aniruddha are Hrishikesh, Padmanabha, and Damodara. These 12 are the predominating deities of the 12 months. Keshava is the predominating deity of Agrahayana, and Narayan is the predominating deity of Pausha. The predominating deity of the month of Magh is Madhava, and the predominating deity of the month of Phalguna is Govinda. Viṣṇu is the predominating deity of Chaitra, and Madhusudana is the predominating deity of Vishaka. In the month of Jyeshta, the predominating deity is Trivikrama. In Ashadha, the deity is Vaman. In Shravan, the deity is Sridhar, and in Bhadra, the deity is Rishikesh. In the month of Ashvina, the predominating deity is Padmanabha, and in Kartik, it is Damodara. This Damodara is different from Radha Damodara, the son of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. When putting the 12 tilak marks on the 12 places of the body, one has to chant the mantra consisting of these 12 Viṣṇu names. After daily worshipping, when one anoints the different parts of the body with water, these names should be chanted as one touches each part of the body. While marking the body with tilak, one should chant the following mantra, which consists of 12 names of Lord Viṣṇu. Lalate Keshavam Dhyayan Dharayana Matodare Vakshastali Madhvam Tu Govindam Kantakupake Vishnum Cha Dakshine Kukshau Baho Cha Madhusudana Trivikramam Kandare Tu Vamanam Bhama Parshvake Sridharam Bhama Bahau Tu Rishikesham Tukundare Prishte Cha Padmanabham Cha Katyam Damodaram Nyasye. When one marks the forehead with tilak, he must remember Keshava. When one marks the lower abdomen, he must remember Narayan. For the chest, one should remember Madhava. And when marking the hollow of the neck, one should remember Govinda. Lord Viṣṇu should be remembered while marking the right side of the belly, and Madhusudana should be remembered when marking the right arm. Trivikrama should be remembered when marking the right shoulder, and Vamana should be remembered when marking the left side of the belly. Sridhar should be remembered while marking the left arm, and Rishikesh should be remembered when marking the left shoulder. Padmanabha and Damodara should be remembered when marking the back. From Vasudeva and Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, there are 8 additional pastime expansions. O Sanatana, please hear me as I mention their names. The 8 pastime expansions are Purushottam, Achyuta, Nrsimha, Janardhan, Hari, Krishna, Adoksaja, and Upendra. Of these 8 expansions, 2 are pastime forms of Vasudeva. Their names are Doksaja and Purushottam. The 2 pastime forms are Sankarshana and Upendra and Achyuta. The pastime forms of Pradyumna are Nrsimha and Janardhan, and the pastime forms of Aniruddha are Hari and Krishna. All these 24 forms constitute the chief Prabhava Vilas, pastime forms of the Lord. They are named differently according to the position of the weapons in their hands. Of all these, the forms that differ in dress and features are distinguished as Vaibhava Vilas. Of them, Padmanabha, Trivikrama, Nrsimha, Vaman, Hari, Krishna, and so on, all have different bodily features. Vasudeva and the 3 others are direct Prabhava pastime forms of Lord Krishna. Of these quadruple forms, the pastime expansions are 24 in number. All these forms preside over different Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual world, beginning from the east in consecutive order. In each of the 8 directions, there are 3 different forms. Although they all have their residences eternally in the spiritual sky, some of them are situated within the material universes. There is an eternal residence of Narayan in the spiritual sky. In the upper portion of the spiritual sky is a planet known as Krishna Loka, which is filled with all opulences. The planet of Krishna Loka is divided into 3 sections: Gokula, Mathura, and Dwarka. Thank you. Lord Keshava eternally resides at Mathura, and Lord Purushottam, known by the name Jagannath, eternally resides at Nilachala. At Prayag, the Lord is situated as Bindu Madhava, and at Mandara Parvat, the Lord is known as Madhusudana. Vasudeva, Padmanabha, and Janardhan reside at Anandaranya. At Viṣṇu Kanchi, there is Lord Vishnu. At Mayapur, Lord Hari. And throughout the universe, a variety of other forms. All of these forms are Murti forms, and they are worshipped in the temples. Their names are Keshava and Mathura, Purushottam or Jagannath at Nilachala, Sri Bindu Madhava at Prayag, Madhusudana at Mandara, and Vasudeva, Padmanabha and Janardhan at Anandaranya, which is situated in Kerala, South India. Did you know that? Been there. At Viṣṇu Kanchi is Lord Varadaraj, and Hari is situated at Mayapur, Lord Chaitanya's birth site. Thus, in different places throughout the universe, there are various deities and temples bestowing their causeless mercy upon the devotees. All these deity forms are non-different from the murtis in the spiritual world of the Vaikunthas. Although the Archamurti, the worshipable deity form of the Lord, appears to be made of material elements, it is as good as the spiritual forms found in the spiritual Vaikuntha lokas. The deity in the temple, however, is visible to the material eyes of the devotee. It is not possible for one in material conditioned life to see the spiritual form of the Lord. To bestow causeless mercy upon us, the Lord appears as the Archamurti, so that we can see him. It is forbidden to consider the Archamurti to be made of stone or wood. In the Padma Purana it is said, Arche Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Budhir. See if they can possibly make that sound more annoying. There must be another setting on it that move it up to the next level of annoyance. Arche Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Budhir. Huh? No. Viṣṇu-va Vaishnava-nam Kali Mala Matane Pada-tirtam Budhi Shri Vishnu Namani Mantre Sakalakulasha He Shabda Samanya Budhir Vish Now Sureshwareshware Tad Itaran Samadhir Yasya Va Narikisa. It's the long version. No one should consider the deity in the temple to be made of stone or wood, nor should one consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being. No one should consider a Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste or creed, and no one should consider Charnamrita or Ganges water to be like ordinary water, nor should anyone consider the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to be a material vibration. All these expansions of Krishna in the material world are simply demonstrations of the Lord's mercy and willingness to give facility to his devotees who are engaged in his devotional service within the material world. Did you hear that? All these expansions of Krishna in the material world are simply demonstrations of the Lord's mercy and willingness to give facility to his devotees who are engaged in his devotional service within the material world. Within the universe, the Lord is situated in different spiritual manifestations. These are situated on 7 islands in 9 directions. Thus their pastimes are going on. The 7 islands are mentioned in the Siddhanta Shiromani. The 7 islands are known as Jambu, Shaka, Shamali, Kusha, Krauncha, my favorite, Gomeda or Plaksha, and Pushkar. The planets are called Dvipas. Outer space is like an ocean of air. Just as there are islands in the watery ocean, these planets in the ocean of space are called Dvipas, or islands in outer space. There are 9 khandas known as 1 Bharat, 2 Kinnara, 3 Hari, 4 Kuru, 5 Hiranmai, 6 Ramyaka, 7 Ilavrita, 8 Bhadrashva, 9 Ketumala. These are different parts of Jambudvip. A valley between 2 mountains is called a Khanda or Varsha. The Lord is situated in all the universes in different forms, just to please his devotees. Thus the Lord destroys irreligious principles and establishes religious principles. Purport: in the material world, the Lord is situated in different archamurtis, deities, in the temples, just to decrease the material activities of the conditioned soul and increase his spiritual activities. Particularly in India, there are many temples throughout the country. Devotees may take advantage of them and go see the Lord at Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, Prayag, Mathura, Hardwar, and Viṣṇu-kanchi. When the devotees travel to these places and see the Lord, they become very happy in devotional service. Of these forms, some are considered incarnations. Examples are Lord Viṣṇu, Lord Trivikrama, Lord Nrsimha, and Lord Vaman. My dear Sanatana, just hear from me as I tell you how the different Viṣṇu Murtis hold their weapons, beginning with the disc, and how they are named differently according to the placement of the weapons in their hands. The procedure for counting begins with the lower right hand and goes to the upper right hand, the upper left hand, and then the lower left hand. Lord Viṣṇu is named according to the order of the weapons he holds in his hands. Ready? According to the Siddhanta Samhita, there are 24 forms of Lord Viṣṇu. First I shall describe, according to the opinion of that book. Which book? Siddhartha Samhita, the location of the weapons beginning with the disc. There are 24 forms: Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Keshava, Narayan, Madhava, Govinda, Viṣṇu, Madhusudana, Trivikrama, Vaman, Sridhar, Rishikesh, Padmanabha, Damodara, Purushottama, Achyuta, Nrsimha, Janardhan, Hari, Kṛṣṇa, Adhoksaja, and Upendra. In his lower right hand, Lord Vasudeva holds a club. In the upper hand, he holds a conch shell. In his upper left hand, a disc, and in the lower left hand, a lotus flower. In his lower right hand, Sankarsana holds a club. In his upper right hand, a conch shell. In his upper left hand, a lotus flower. And his lower left hand, a disc. Padmanabha holds the disc, conch, club, and lotus. Aniruddha holds the disc, club, conch, and lotus. Thus, in the spiritual sky, the expansions headed by Vasudeva hold weapons in their own respective order. I am repeating the opinion of the Siddhanta Samhita in describing them. Lord Keshava holds the lotus, conch, disc, and club. Lord Narayan holds the conch, lotus, club, and disc. Lord Madhava holds the club, disc, conch, and lotus. Lord Govinda holds the disc, club, lotus, and conch. Lord Viṣṇu holds the club, lotus, conch, and disc. Lord Madhusudana holds the disc, conch, lotus, and club. Lord Trivikrama holds the lotus, club, disc, and conch. Lord Vaman holds the conch, disc, club, and lotus. Lord Sridhar holds the lotus, disc, club, and conch. Lord Rishikesh holds the club, disc, lotus, and conch. Lord Padmanabha holds the conch, lotus, disc, and club. Lord Damodara holds the lotus, disc, club, and conch. Lord Purushottama holds the disc, lotus, conch, and club. Lord Achyuta holds the club, lotus, disc, and conch. Lord Nrsimha holds the disc, lotus, club, and conch. Lord Janardhan holds the lotus, disc, conch, and club. Sri Hari holds the conch, disc, lotus, club. Lord Sri Krishna holds the conch, club, lotus, and disc. Lord Adhokshaja holds the lotus, club, conch, and disc. Lord Upendra holds the conch, club, disc, and lotus. According to the Hayashirsha Pancharatra, according to who? Should quote that in a class. According to the Hayashirsha Pancharatra, there are 16 personalities. I shall now describe that opinion of how they hold the weapons. There was this person who used to come to ISV a lot. He was a little bit of a suspicious character, but one day when we were reading this section I was talking about, he says, I can name all of the... So he proceeded to name all of them. He was kind of a smart guy, but he seemed to be some kind of... It's a little something weird. But anyway, he named them all. He went through every one of them and told what the positions were. I suppose there's a system to it based on just replacement where you go around. The 16 personalities, Vamshuli could do it. According to the Hayashirsha Pancharatra, there are 16 personalities. I shall now describe the opinion of how they hold the weapons. The 16 personalities are as follows: Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Keshava, Narayan, Madhava, Govinda, Viṣṇu, Madhusudana, Trivikram, Vaman, Sridhar, Rishikesh, Padmanabha, and Damodara. Lord Keshava is described differently as holding the lotus, conch, club, and disc, and Madhava is described as holding the disc, club, conch, and lotus in his hands. According to the Hayashirsha Pancharatra, Narayan and others are also presented differently as holding weapons in different hands. Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead indicated as the son of Maharajananda, has two names. One is Swayam Bhagavan and the other is Lila Purushottam. Lord Krishna personally surrounds Dwarkapuri as its protector in different parts of the city. In 9 places he expands in 9 different forms. The 9 personalities mentioned are Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, Narayan, Nrsimha, Hayagriva, Varaha, and Brahma. This verse is found in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita 1.451. The Brahma mentioned herein is not a living entity. Sometimes, when there is a scarcity of living entities to take charge of Brahma's post, Mahavishnu expands himself as Lord Brahma. This Brahma is not considered to be a living entity. He is an expansion of Vishnu. I have already described the pastime and prakash forms. Now please hear about the different personal expansions. The first personal expansion is Sankarshan, and the others are incarnations like the fish incarnation. Sankarshan is an expansion of the Purusha or Vishnu. The incarnations such as Matsya, the fish incarnation, appear in different yugas for specific pastimes. Herborg. The Purusha avatars are the lords of the universal creation. These are Karnadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Shirdakshay Vishnu. There are also Leela avatars, and these include 1 Chatushana, or the 4 Kumaras, 2 Narda, 3 Varaha, 4 Matsya, 5 Yagya, Narayan, Kardama, Kapila, Dattatreya, Hayashirsha, Hamsa, Dhruva Priya, Prishnigarbha, Rishabha, Prithu, Nrsimha, Kurma, Dhanvantari, Mohini, Vaman, Bhargava, Parashuram, Raghavendra, Vyasa, Pralambari Balaram, Krishna, Buddha, and Kalki. Purusha avatars are Karnadakshay, Garbhadakshay, Shirdakshay. These were the Leela avatars. How many on the list? 25. 25 Leela avatars. These 25 personalities of Godhead are known as Leela avatars because they appear in each day of Brahma or in each kalpa, millennium. They are sometimes known as kalpa avatars. Of these incarnations, Hamsa and Mohini are neither permanent nor very well known, but they are listed among the Prabhava avatars. Kapila, Dattatreya, Rishabha, Dhanvantari, and Vyasa are eternally situated and very widely known. They are also counted among the Prabhava incarnations. Kurma, Matsya, Narayan, Varaha, Hayagriva, Prishnigarbha, and Baladev, the killer of Pralamba, Sura, are counted among the Vaibhava avatars. There are 6 types of avatars of Krishna. One includes the incarnations of Viṣṇu, Purusha avatars, and others include the incarnations meant for the performance of pastimes of Leela avatars. There are incarnations that control the material qualities, Guna avatars, incarnations who appear during the reign of each Manu, Manvantara avatars, incarnations in different millenniums, Yuga avatars, and incarnations of empowered living entities, Shaktivesh avatars. Purport: the Guna avatars are 3, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Viṣṇu. The avatars who appear during the reign of each Manu, known as Manvantara avatars, are listed as follows in Srimad Bhagavatam 8th Canto, chapters 1, 5, and 13. 1. Yagya, 2. Vibhu, 3. Satyasena, 4. Hari, 5. Vaikuntha, 6. Ajita, 7. Vaman, 8. Sarvabhauma, 9. Rishabha, 10. Vishvaksena, 11. Dharmasetu, 12. Sudama, 13. Yogeshwara, and 14. Brihadbanu. Altogether these are 14 in number, and of these, Yagya and Vamana are also counted among the Leela avatars. All these Manvantara incarnations are sometimes called Vaibhava avatars. Commingling electronic products. The 4 Yuga avatars are 1. Shukla, white, 2. In Satya Yuga, 2. Rakta, red, in Treta Yuga. That's Bhagavatam 11.5.24. 3. Shama, dark blue, in Dwapara Yuga. And 4. Generally Krishna, black, but in special cases, Pita, yellow, as Caitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. The Shaktivesh avatars are categorized into 1. Forms of divine absorption, Bhagavat Avesh, such as Kapila and Rishabha, and 2. Divinely empowered forms, Shaktivesh, of whom 7 are foremost. 1. Sheshanag, in the Vaikuntha world, empowered for the personal service of the Supreme Lord. Swasevana Shakti. Ye Sheshanag. 2. Anantadev, empowered to bear all the planets within the universe. Bhu Dharana Shakti. 3. This will be on the test. Lord Brahma, empowered with the energy to create the cosmic manifestation. Shrishti Shakti. 4. Chatusana, or the Kumaras, specifically empowered to distribute transcendental knowledge. Jnana Shakti. 5. Narada Muni, empowered to distribute devotional service, Bhakti Shakti. 6. Maharaj Prithu, specifically empowered to rule and maintain the living entities, Palana Shakti. And 7. Parashuram, specifically empowered to cut down rogues and demons, Dushta Damana Shakti. Childhood and boyhood are the typical ages of the deity. Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, performed his pastimes as a child and as a boy. There are innumerable incarnations of Krishna, and there is no possibility of counting them. We can simply indicate them by giving the example of the moon and the branches of the tree. Purport: although the moon appears to be located in the branches of the tree, it is actually situated very far away. Similarly, none of these avatars or incarnations of Lord Krishna are within this material world, but they are visible by the causeless mercy of the Lord. We should not consider them to belong to this material world, as stated by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti mam mudha manusham tanam ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Avatars descend of their own free will, and although they may act like ordinary human beings, they do not belong to this material world. Lord Krishna and his avatars can be understood only by the grace of the Lord. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo nametaya nabahuna shutena yami vaisha vrinute tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vrinute tanum swam. The Supreme Lord is not obtained by means of expert explanations, vast intelligence, or even much hearing. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. Hata pite deva padam bujadvaya prashada leshanugrihita etehi janati tatvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko picharam bachimban. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of your mercy, the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, are unable to know you, even though they continue studying the Vedas for many years. And I will just take an opportunity for some reflections or questions, in case there are any. Mukharvind, right out of the gate.
Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, I had one question that in the 219th verse, it says that when the devotee travel to these places and see the Lord, they become very happy in devotional service. And there is also discussion that we have, like when we go to the holy places just to bathe in the Ganges in the 10th canto, I'm not remembering the verse. Adhyaatma buddhi kunupe tridhatuke, in that verse. So, and it's also mentioned that we should go to holy places to hear from the devotees. And so I'm like in the priority list, what are the how do we decide? Like I see some devotees are very much attached to just they like to go to many holy places, see all the lords, and I see that that's also authorized here in the books. And but some section says no, you go to here.
Well, why not stop in for a class while you're there? What's to stop you from that? Right?
Right.
Yeah, so just do both. Once Bhuvaneshwar Prabhu, he was the cook for Kṛṣṇa Balarāma for many years, joined in Chicago, in L.A. Then Chicago, he was in Chicago for years, and he didn't fit well in the material world, so he moved to Vrindavan. He lived in the basement for a long time, and then he lived in a little room, just humble brahmachari his whole life, and Bhuvaneshwar. Yeah, once he came to get his visa. His visa ran out, so he stayed at our house in Burlingame. And I took him on a tour of California to see all the deities. We drove from San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Laguna Beach. And it was like being in India, traveling around to all the temples. I was impressed the way Prabhupada, how he had made it so we could go everywhere. But of course we went to the classes too. Actually, he gave class in many places. Yeah, if you take 3 months, travel around India, you just barely scratch the surface. I used to do that every year. It'd take 3 months just to try to go as many places as I could. And it just felt like being absorbed in the spiritual world the whole time. You go to these places. No harm in it. You just keep the transcendental vibration going. What it's talking about is people who go there just in a perfunctory way. But even they, Kapila Dev says, even the Kanishta Adhikaris, when they come to the temple, they're imperceptibly liberated. I just see in ISKCON temples, like right after the morning program, there are people on their way to work, Indians of course, usually. They'll come by and they just park their car, come in, and they just sit there in front of the deity. Maybe they'll sit there for 10 minutes, half an hour. Then they just get up and go. And it's really sweet. They just come to see Krishna before they go to work.
Thank you, Maharaj. I just have one follow-up. So this I understood, but in case of when we were discussing about the Chiro, what is that deity's name? Of Bhakti, Prabhupada's related. Sesasai, yeah, thank you. Sesasai. In that case, we see that his spiritual master did appreciate that he stayed rather than he go.
Well, if Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta is given a class, it's a no-brainer. You want to stay and listen. And yeah, that's the more mature response. If you have the choice to go here, there, and everywhere, or be there for the hearing and chanting with your spiritual master, it's a more mature thing to stay and just hear and chant.
Thank you.
But it's hard because there's so many devotional activities. Śravaṇa, kīrtana, Viṣṇu-smaraṇam, pāda-sevanam, arcanaṁ, vandanaṁ, dasyam, sakhyam. It's hard to fit them all in and keep up with everything. Don't you find that? There's so many choices and so many places to be, so many festivals to go. I didn't go to the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Kṛṣṇa Balarāma temple. And so, where were you? How come you didn't come? I was like, well, I was in another place at that time that I had to be also. And it just, well, how can you be everywhere at the same time? So we have this conundrum that Krishna's given us so much option for bliss that we can't barely take it all in. Even if you try for billions of lifetimes, you'll never be able to keep up. Even if you just tried to visit all the temples in India, you wouldn't make it in 100 lifetimes. Not in 1,000 lifetimes. Even the ones in Vrindavan, practically. What to speak of all over India, the whole place is a big tirtha. It's called Punya Bhumi. But now the whole world's like that too, because you can go anywhere. You go to Scotland. I went to Scotland and drove way out there in the country. What is that? Karuna Bhavan? Karuna Bhavan? I had never been there before. That was 10 years ago. And we drive up there and I walk in, all jet lagged, and I look in the temple, and Gaur Nitai was there. The first Gaur Nitai I ever met in San Francisco. Same deities somehow traveled across the ocean and went to Karuna Bhavan. It was a multi-deity trade or something. I don't know. I was like, what are you doing here? They're like, what are you doing here? So it never ends. I mean, that's why devotional service is bliss, because the variety, combinations, permutations of hearing, chanting, seeing deities, never come to the end of it. And every temple you go to, they have a specialty prasadam. Like in Triplicane, in what's now called Chennai, it used to be called Madras. There's the Partha-Sarthi Mandir. And we'd go there multiple times just to get the prasad. They had these idli. It's an idli loaf, not like a regular idli with peppercorns inside. And they wrap it up in some banana leaf. And it would last for 3 days on a train. And then, of course, everybody knows in Tirupati, they give out this tamarind rice to die for. You could sit there and eat 20 of them and still not be full. Prabhu, you were going to say?
Is there a significance of the 4 Yuga avatars and coming in those colors, white and then red and then shyam, and sometimes yellow.
Well, the significance of the colors, I've never read anything specific about how they represent, certain mood of the time or the deity itself. I've heard some speculations, but I wouldn't want to repeat them. Yes, you have it. Maybe it's in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dhanavad Pranams. In related to that color, I always get confused about Krishna's color. Is it
He's
blue
black.
or black or dark, fresh rain cloud?
It's like the color of
gray.
monsoon cloud. It's darkish blue-black. It's a transcendental color. So when you look at a monsoon cloud and it's dark, it sort of has a bluish tint to it.
Thank you.
Dark bluish black. Yes, Tamal.
Hare Krishna. I had a question about the two categories of Shakti Avesha Avatar.
Is this your first question?
Yes.
Since we got here? Okay.
Or, no, that's not my first question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the first one was Bhagavad Avesh, and the second was Shakti Avesh. I was wondering if this distinction is being made between Vishnu Tattva and empowered living entities.
This calls for the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Can somebody grab it? Is it available? He's going for it now. I see Devrata, you can be the Laghu Bhagavatamrita research department during this section. Did you hear the question? Bhagavad Avesh or Shakti Avesh? Wants to know if that distinguishes between Vishnu Tattva and empowered Jiva Tattva. Don't bring it to me though. Somebody who's a good researchist. Yes.
Not on that point, about the color. About the color, in one purport, Prabhupada quotes Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Saraswati, explaining that shyam is not black or blackish, it's actually a type of blue, which very much resembles the atasi flower. There is also Shastric reference. And that's also different objects which we can perceive, but the atasi flower is a lin seed. If you put it, and then it will grow, and you will see it's very, very tender.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I grow it to see what it is. Lin seeds you can put there everywhere.
It's darkish blue.
No, it's rather light blue.
Light blue.
But it looks also like the monsoon clouds we had when we came, some monsoon clouds.
Okay.
And it's a very tender color.
Any other things? Yes. Outside People's Party.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. There was I think there was a verse somewhere which stated that the deity forms, the Archa Vigraha forms, they're transcendental. Is there any specific distinction between the deities that are present in this world? For example, there are temples in India where deities are Swayambhu, which means they're self-manifested.
They're what?
I think it's called Swayambhu deities. They're just self-manifested. They are not created by any living entity. For example, I think the deities in Simachalam, they are self-manifested, I think. I'm not sure. But there are deities that have not been created by a human person. So my question is, are all sorts of deities who are which are present in any kind of temple, are they all transcendental? Or is there any specific explanation that distinguishes between certain deities that are truly...
Some deities don't require installation because they're self-manifested. For instance, Shalagram Shila, no installation necessary. It's a self-manifested deity of Lord Vishnu. Comes from the Gandaki River. Then, of course, Giriraj is already Krishna. You don't have to install the deity. and there are other self-manifested deities. The main point about deities is Krishna appears to please his pure devotees. For instance, all the deities we have in ISKCON, they're all because of Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada had such devotion for Krishna. Everywhere he went, Krishna appeared. And he established the deities and they agreed to appear. If somebody keeps a deity for making money and they don't actually have faith in the deity, they just have a little family business going on, then that's different, because we'll just take a ride down to Loi Bazaar. You can drive down on a rickshaw and you can look in all the windows and you'll see lots and lots of forms of the Lord. But you don't get off your rickshaw at every shop and offer your obeisances, right? But if you go to the Kṛṣṇa Balarāma mandir, where Prabhupada personally established and installed the Kṛṣṇa Balarāma deities, then they reciprocate, and they're especially there. So there's a difference in the presence of the Lord based on his reciprocation with the deities, with the devotees. What's more, there's a verse here in the Caitanya Charitamrita regarding deity worship, and that is that Krishna had empowered Narada and others to create the Pancharatra, or the system to worship him. And Krishna talks about it himself. He gives precise instructions of how to worship him, his deity forms, in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then there's a verse spoken by Krishna from one of the Puranas that if someone follows the Pancharatra system to worship him, then he's pleased. And if people don't follow it, then they're known to be offensive. And Krishna is not like a vending machine that you put it up and then you put the cans in and then just put a coin and you get it automatically. Krishna appears where he wants to appear. Just like we say in the holy name, if a Mayavadi is chanting the holy name, Avaishnava Mukund Girnam Putam Harikatamritam Śravaṇa Naivikhartavyam Sarpochista Yatapaya, say, don't listen to that, because it's not actually the holy name, because Krishna hasn't agreed to appear there, because it's spoken by somebody whose intention is to blaspheme Krishna by saying he doesn't really exist. And that's the whole topic of the 87th chapter of the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, is how does Krishna manifest in this world? And the answer is by his own sweet will, because of his attraction to the devotees, or those who are following the devotees, like somebody's following Narada Muni. By following the Narada Pancharatra, Krishna will agree to appear there. That's why we have an installation ceremony for deities. And there are different kinds of ways of installing deities. According to Shastra, there are certain ways that you install a deity. Now, in the Kṛṣṇa Balarāma mandir in 1975, Prabhupada invited a lot of local pundits to come there and do all the mudras, all the mantras, all the ceremonies, but Prabhupada wrote afterwards. And Prabhupada personally had us all there chanting Harinam. We had a huge Sankirtan party going practically non-stop for hours during all of the mantras, mudras, and everything like that. And afterwards, Prabhupada writes in his purport, we didn't need all that other stuff. We just needed the holy name. He said, the only reason that I did all those rituals is because the locals wouldn't have accepted that we had a real temple, because they were fixed on the ritual rather than Krishna reciprocating with the pure devotee and the pure chanting of the holy names there. Another way that deities become installed is if someone with devotion starts worshiping them, even if they don't do a installation ceremony, if they're steady and they keep worshiping him over many, many years, and people come to see them, they're known to be installed without all the ritual and ceremonies. So there's nuance in it, but the real thing is the devotion that's behind it, and that can be expressed in different ways. Okay? I don't know if I answered the question.
Oh yes, thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. You answered more than what I expected.
Okay, thanks. 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2. Tie goes to the runner, infield fly rule. Go ahead.
Back to the complexion of Krishna. Prabhupada said that he had the similarity of the Indra Nilamani gem. And there's the gem.
Can you see? Of course, there may be different shades of sapphires too, right? Okay, here's the flower. Exhibit B. If it please the court. Can you see outside? That's remarkable. Thank you. Okay.
You mentioned that a Shaligram Shila doesn't need to be installed.
That's
or
right.
Giriraj. What is the etiquette for like taking home a pebble or something from Govardhana Hill?
Well, the local version is that you have to get it from a Brijabha. This is the local version. I'm not saying it's the only version.
I've heard different versions, so I want to hear yours.
The local version is you have to be gifted by a Vrijabhasi local person. Good luck verifying that. And then you have to put back or donate back an equal amount in weight of gold to that person. But really, etiquette is that if you should, for any deity worship, it should be done under the direction of the spiritual master. That's the etiquette. Because when we worship the deity, we should be thinking, I'm worshiping on behalf of my spiritual master. And so, when it comes in that way, that's first class. And the best deity to worship in Kali Yuga is Panchatattva, because all power comes from worshipping Panchatattva. Practically mercy comes unlimitedly and automatically. So that's highly recommended. And Prabhupada did start Shaligram worship himself in the sense that he gave some Shaligram Shila to Pradyumna, his Sanskrit editor who traveled with him, because he wanted him as a grihastha to have a deity to worship. He told him to keep the Lord in a box. And he wrote about it in a purport. And then he also wrote a couple of purports about Shaligram worship. In his books, he says he was eager for, he said at some point all temples, all the ISKCON temples should have Shaligram. But at this point, it may not be the exact point, because a lot of temples are struggling just to worship the deities they have. And as far as the etiquette goes, it's always best to ask your spiritual authority and see and line it up. That's always the best. In fact, in the Bahari Bhakti Vilas, for instance, there's a section about initiation. This is just a parallel kind of example. I guess that's what an example would be, isn't it? There's about 3 pages of explanation about the places and times that you should take initiation and the places that times you shouldn't. And then after 3 pages of detailed explanation, there's one tiny paragraph at the end and it says, but if the spiritual master decides to give you initiation in the middle of a rice field at any random time, then that's when you should take initiation. And so what that means is, being spiritually intelligent, you should take any kind of worship that we do of Krishna through the parampara and through authority, and not self-medicate. Okay, we'll read a little bit more. Or is that somebody's hand up out there? Okay, yes. Vaishnavi Devi.
Hi Krishna. Prabhu, I had a question from yesterday. The verse 140,
140?
Yes. It
Yes.
says there, when one actually becomes rich, it was talking about the parable about finding the treasure. When one actually becomes rich, he naturally enjoys all kinds of happiness. When one is actually in a happy mood, all distressful conditions go away by themselves. No extraneous endeavor is needed. So when one is endeavoring in bhakti yoga, and because in this world everyone has some form of trauma to lesser or more degree, and then sometimes devotees say you need to do something else aside from chanting Hare Krishna, and you're just spiritual bypassing. So of course there would be some nuances, but would you be able to shed some light on this?
Sure. Well, it was a great class by the devotee named Devakinandan Prabhu, who's from Singapore. He's ISKCON's head attorney, and he's also, I think he's an initiating spiritual master, and he looks like a Brahmin, just his physical features. And anyway, he gave a great class in Mayapur, and somebody asked him about, it was around the time of Kumbh Mela. A lot of people were going to the Kumbh to get a little benediction from Lakshmi Ji. And then also he mentioned the questioner who asked a question in class about astrology. That's a likely go-to thing where people want to ask an astrologer for a little guidance. And then the questioner gave a similar question as yours, which is that needed or what? Or not? And he gave a nuanced answer, which I really appreciated. He said that devotees know that all they need is Krishna, and all they need to do is chant Hare Krishna. If they don't know it, I'm sure they've heard it, because people have probably just told them, Prabhu, just chant Hare Krishna, which is true. It's all we really need. He said, but still, as you pointed out, Vaishnavi, so aptly, everyone's in anxiety all the time. Despite the fact that we've taken up the process of devotional service, the stress level is so high, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, especially right now. It's so high that devotees, they try to find a little escape valve here or there. To think, yeah, I know chant Hare Krishna, that's what I'm going to do the rest of my life, and I believe in that, but can I just get like a little relief now? or at least can I get a peek into how I'm going to get smashed next so that I can prepare for it maybe? And I thought that was really an appropriate answer, because devotees generally, that's what Shraddha means. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahi Surida Nishtoy Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Kurtahoy. They know all I have to do is chant Hare Krishna. Everything, all gains, everything comes from that. But still, like, what about this supplement? Can't I take, isn't there one sup, that'll like, fix my fix my mind, or something. And that's it's hard as a human under the pressure of Kali Yuga to not think about a few little things like that, to try to put stuff together, or to try to hold one's scene together long enough to be able to chant Hare Krishna in complete purity. So I'm not saying one should, but when Pradyumna asked Prabhupada about astrology, he said, Prabhupada, is it part of our Siddhanta to look at astrology, to consider astrology? Prabhupada gave a nuanced answer. He said, no. He said, but if you find out it's going to rain, you take an umbrella. And so, Prabhupada sometimes consulted people, what's the day we're leaving for the trip? It's Thursday. I'll put my bag outside on Wednesday, and we'll say we left on Wednesday. And Prabhupada consulted Ayurvedic doctor, like, this, that. So it's hard to avoid, but our main thing is chanting Hare Krishna. And I just remember, this is the last thing I'll say, but I was sitting down at Sriji's Jewelers one night, on a hot, sweltering night during Purushottam Mas, and I was just looking at deity paraphernalia, and there was a devotee in there from Europe, and he had some gems he wanted to sell to Sriji. And so they were kind of sitting near the door, and because it's an open thing, and they were looking at the jewels back and forth, and one of my godbrothers was coming down the street, and he's known to be very opinionated and so forth. So he came down and he saw them, and he kind of leaned in, he goes, "What are you selling?" And he said, "Oh, these gems." And he goes, "Let me see it." And he's looking at it, he goes, and he went, he didn't actually swallow it, but he pretended he did. And everyone in the shop looked and was like, "What happened?" And he said, "No, I'm just kidding. Give it back." He said, he goes, "In Kali Yuga," he goes, "Here, you can take it. In Kali Yuga, only the holy name works." And he just walked off. So, yeah, we do what we can to hold ourselves together so we can give complete focus on the prime goal of life, which is Hare Krishna. As far as the devas go and all that, they can't really help us, just Krishna. But if you pray to a deva, "Please help me to worship Krishna better," other devotees have done that, and they're even in the Bhagavatam. Om Tat Sat. Can we go a few more verses and then we'll take a little break? Yes. Okay, where are we? Probably on 251, right? Amrita, where are we? 249. O learned Brahmanas, just as hundreds and thousands of small rivulets issue from great reservoirs of water, innumerable incarnations flow from Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the reservoir of all power. In the beginning, Lord Krishna incarnates himself as the Purusha avatars or Viṣṇu incarnations. These are three types. Purport: up to this verse, the many types of expansions have been described. Now the manifestations of the Lord's different potencies will be described. Viṣṇu has three forms called Purushas. The first, Mahaviṣṇu, is the creator of the total material energy, Mahat. The second is Garbhodakshayi, who is situated within each universe. And the third is Kshirodakshayi, who lives in the heart of every living being. He who knows these three becomes liberated from the clutches of Maya. This verse appears in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, where it has been quoted from the Sattva Tantra, which reminds me, did you find anything? Yes, we've got it. Go ahead, give him the mic. He'll answer the question about the Aveshas. Shakti Avesh and Bhagavat Avesh.
So the Laghu Bhagavatamrita gives, there's a small section on Aveshas, and it goes to the different Shakti Avesh avatars, such as the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, and how they're empowered with a particular potency of the Lord. And then it also speaks about how generally in Kali Yuga, the inaugurator of the Sankirtan movement is a jiva, but in this particular Kali Yuga it's Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And then it goes on to explain that the same thing happens with Kalki. And then Rupa Goswami concludes the section by saying, to conclude, the Aveshas are considered surrogate avatars. And then he says the Avesha incarnations. This statement refers to the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Parshuram, and Kalki. So it looks like, to answer his question, Shakti Avesh specifically means a living entity who is a jiva who's empowered with the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but may not necessarily mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, because that would fall into the category of Prabhava or Vaibhava or Swayam Prakash expansions of the Lord.
He has a follow-up question.
Hare Krishna. In the list we read, Anantadev and Sheshanag were included in the Shakti Avesh list. And so I was a little confused as to whether they would be included as also empowered living entities. I'm not sure if that came up in...
I'll look it up. There's nothing mentioned about Sheshanag in the particular section on Sakshavesh, but I'll do a more refined search on that point.
But all loose ends are tied up in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. And, okay, here we go. Krishna has unlimited potencies, out of which three are chief: willpower, the power of knowledge, and creative energy. The predominator of the willing potency is Lord Krishna, for by his supreme will everything comes into existence. In willing, there is a need for knowledge, and that knowledge is expressed through Vasudeva. And by the way, this is the answer to your question, Nanda, earlier. It's Hladini Shakti is Srimati Radharani. The Sandini potency is under Balaram, and the Samvit potency is under Vasudeva. I looked it up the other day. I forgot to tell you. But that was a good time to say it, right? That knowledge is spread through Vasudeva. There is no possibility of creation without thinking, feeling, willing, knowledge, and activity. The combination of the supreme will, knowledge, and action brings about the cosmic manifestation. Lord Sankarsana is Lord Balaram. Being the predominator of the creative energy, he creates both the material and the spiritual world. That original Sankarsana, Lord Balaram, is the cause of both the material and spiritual creation. He is the predominating deity of egotism, and by the will of Krishna and the power of the spiritual energy, he creates the spiritual world, which consists of the planet Goloka Vrindavan and the Vaikuntha planets. Although there is no question of creation as far as the spiritual world is concerned, the spiritual world is nonetheless manifested by the supreme will of Sankarsana. The spiritual world is the abode of the pastimes of the eternal spiritual energy. Gokula, the supreme abode and planet, appears like a lotus flower, this is Brahma Samhita, that has 1,000 petals. The whorl of that lotus is the abode of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The lotus-eyed supreme abode is created by the will of Lord Ananta. By the agency of the material energy, this same Lord Sankarsana creates all the universes. The dull material energy known in modern language as nature is not the cause of the material universe. Without the Supreme Personality of Godhead's energy, dull matter cannot create the cosmic manifestation. Its power does not arise from the material energy itself, but is endowed by Sankarsana. Dull matter alone cannot create anything. The material energy produces the creation by the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Iron has no power to burn. And iron itself has no power to burn, but when iron is placed in fire, it is empowered to burn. Balaram and Krishna are the original, efficient, and material causes of the material world, as Mahavishnu and the material energy. They enter into the material elements and create the diversities by multi-energies. Thus, they are the cause of all causes. This verse is from Bhagavatam 10:46-31. The form of the Lord that descends into the material world is to create is called an avatara, or incarnation. All the expansions of Lord Krishna are actually residents of the spiritual world. But when they descend into the material world, they are called incarnations, avataras. To glance over that material energy, and empower her, Lord Sankarsana first incarnates as Lord Mahavishnu. In the beginning of creation, the Lord expanded himself in the form of the Purusha incarnation, accompanied by all the ingredients of material creation. First, he created the 16 principal energies suitable for creation. This was for the purpose of manifesting the material universes. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 131. You can see more in the Adi Lila. Karna Dakshai, Karna Dishai, Viṣṇu, Mahavishnu, is the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And he is the master of eternal time, space, cause, and effects, the mind, the elements, the material ego, the modes of nature, the senses, the universal form of the Lord, Garbhodakshai Viṣṇu, and the sum total of all living beings, both moving and non-moving. That's from Bhagavatam 2.642. That original personality of Godhead named Sankarsana first lies down in the river Viraja, which serves as a border between the material and spiritual world. As Karnadakshay Viṣṇu, he is the original cause of the material creation. The Viraja, the causal ocean, is the border between the spiritual and material worlds. The material energy is situated on one shore of that ocean, and it cannot enter into the other shore, which is the spiritual sky. In the spiritual world, there is neither the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, nor a mixture of both, nor is there adulterated goodness, the influence of time or Maya herself are absent, that is. Only the pure devotees of the Lord, who are worshipped both by demigods and by demons, reside in the spiritual world as the Lord's associates. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.10 was spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. He was answering the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, who asked how the living entity falls down into the material world. Shukadeva Goswami explained the cream of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses, which had been explained to Lord Brahma at the end of the severe austerities he performed for 1,000 celestial years. At that time, Brahma was shown the spiritual world and its transcendental nature. Maya has 2 functions. One is called Maya and the other is called Pradhana. Maya refers to the efficient cause, and Pradhana refers to the ingredients that create the cosmic manifestation. You can see more about that in the Adi Leela. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead glances over the material energy, she becomes agitated. At that time, the Lord injects the original semen of the living entities. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bijamam sarvabhutanam, I am the original seed of all existences. This is also confirmed in another verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti ya, tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. For a further explanation, one may refer to the Brahma Samhita. Agnir mahi ganganamamu murudashascha kalastatatma manasiti jagatrayani yasmad bhavanti vibhavanti vishanti yamcha govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. All material elements as well as the spiritual sparks, individual souls, are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed by the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasayataha. The Absolute Truth is He from whom everything emanates. He is the Supreme Truth, Satyam Param Dhimahi. The Absolute Ultimate Truth is Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasaya Tonvayad Itaratash Charte Swabhigna Swarad. The Absolute Truth is a person who is directly and indirectly cognizant of the entire cosmic manifestation. The Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, educated Lord Brahma from the heart. Teni Brahma Hridaya Adi Kaviye. Therefore, the Absolute Truth cannot be dull matter. The Absolute Truth must be the Supreme Person Himself. Se Purusha Maya Parne Kari Aradhana. Simply by His glance, material nature is impregnated with all living entities. According to their karma and fruit of activity, they emerge in different bodies. That is the explanation given by the Bhagavad Gita. Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaranyavanam bhajara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. To impregnate with the seeds of the living entities, the Lord Himself does not directly touch the material energy, But by his specific functional expansion, he touches the material energy and thus the living entities who are parts and parcels, his parts and parcels, impregnated into the material energy. According to Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manak Shastan Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. The word Prakriti Sparshana is explained in the Caitanya Charitamrita in reference to the way the living entities come in contact with dull matter. The glancing is performed by Mahavishnu, sa aikshata lokan nu srajati, Aitare Upanishad. In the conditioned stage, we impregnate according to the bodily conception, that is by sexual intercourse. But the Supreme Lord does not need sexual intercourse to impregnate. The impregnation is performed simply by his glance. This is also explained in the Brahma Samhita. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti pashanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. Ananda chinmaya sadujjvala vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govinda can impregnate simply by glancing. In other words, his eyes can work as his genitals. He does not need genitals to beget a child. Indeed, Krishna can beget any one of the living entities with any part of his body. The word Swanga Visheshabhasa Rupe, indicating the form by which the Lord begets living entities in the material world, is explained herein. He is Lord Shiva. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Lord Shiva, who is another form of Mahavishnu, is like yogurt. Yogurt is nothing but milk, yet it is not milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva is considered the father of this universe, and material nature is considered the mother. The father and mother are known as Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga. Together, Lord Shiva's genitals and the vagina of Goddess Durga are worshipped as the Shiva Linga. This is the origin of the material creation. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is between that of the living entity and that of the Supreme Lord. In other words, Lord Shiva is neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor a living entity. He is the form through which the Supreme Lord works to beget living entities within this material world. As yogurt is prepared when milk is mixed with a culture, the form of Lord Shiva expands when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in touch with material nature. The impregnation of material nature by the Father, Lord Shiva, is wonderful because at one time innumerable living entities are conceived. Bhago jiva sa vigneya sa chanaptyaya kalpate. Shvetashvatar Upanishad. These living entities are very, very small. Kesha gra shatabhagasya shatamsha shadrashatmakaha jiva sukshma sarupo yang sankyatito hichitkana. If we divide the tip of a hair into 100 parts and then take one of these parts and divide it again into 100 parts, that very fine division is the size of but one of the numberless living entities. They are all chitkana, particles of spirit, not matter. The innumerable Brahmandas, or universes, come from the pores of the Lord's body, and innumerable living entities also come from the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is the process of material creation. Without the living entities, this material nature has no value. Both emanate from the pores of the transcendental body of Lord Mahavishnu. They are different energies. The material nature is explained as follows by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4. Bhumir apo analu vayu kamano buddhir evacha hankara ityame bina prakritir ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Thus, the material elements also come from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they are a different type of energy from the living entities. Although the living entities also come from the Lord's body, they are categorized as superior energy. Aparayamitasthanyam prakritim vidime param shiva bhuta mahabahoya yedam darite jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior energy. Matter cannot act without the superior energy. All these things are very clearly explained in the Vedas. The materialistic theory that life develops from matter is incorrect. Life and matter come from the supreme living entity. Therefore, being the source of both, that supreme living entity, Krishna, is described in the Vedanta Sutra as Janmadya Sayataha, or the original source of everything, Sarva Karana Karanam. This is further explained in the following verse. And that brings us to our Gayatri break. We'll see you back here at 12:15. Thank you. Hare Krishna.